Green-cheeked conures, one of the most highly social parrots. They are small, cute, and packed with personalities. These birds are native to Central South America, originating from different parts of the forest and woodland areas. Not only are they striking with color, but also playful and affectionate. Green-cheeked conures are part of the parrot family called Cetacea. They are also popular as companion birds because of their quiet nature, ability to learn tricks, and overall amazing personalities. These green-cheeked conures are classified under kingdom Animalia, meaning that these creatures are animals, specifically vertebrates. Their placement in Animalia is important due to shared animal characteristics. We use these classifications, like cladograms, to understand the biodiversity and interconnectedness of life within ecosystems. Now, in this cladogram being shown, it explains the related characteristics that all eukaryotic organisms have. Using domain eukarya as a starting point, it shows that all organisms represented in this cladogram are part of the top classification ladder, which is domain, specifically domain eukarya. As we begin to explore these organisms, leading to green-cheeked conures, it is slowly shown how these characteristics within these organisms from different kingdoms are related through certain traits. Now, leading from multicellular, heterotrophic, to lastly leading to fungi or the button mushroom, being the closest relative to kingdom Animalia, or more specifically, the organism being shown, which is green-cheeked conures. Although related, certain characteristics make these organisms distinct from one another. But one trait connects these organisms together, and it is belonging to the major eukaryotic group, Opis conata. Why are these related? It is shown that animals and fungi share a common ancestor with each other that neither Plantae and Protista share. A defining feature is that many Ophiosconates, especially in their motile stage, have single posterior flagellum, making this feature unique compared to other eukaryotes, which typically have one or more anterior flagella. Now that we know that green-cheeked conures have eukaryotes, meaning that they have a true nucleus and membrane-bound organelles, but we also know that green-cheeked conures belong to kingdom Animalia, sharing characteristics like heterotrophic, meaning that they consume organic matter for energy but can't produce their own food. And lastly, we know that green-cheeked conures are multicellular as well. Instead of being unicellular, which means single-celled, they contain multiple cells that make up what we know today as birds. How do we classify these birds? How do we even know what species and what makes them all unique? Well, if we use Linnean classification, we can go down the hierarchy of taxonomy from domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. We can use different traits that these birds share with other organisms, but also making these birds unique due to their species. As we already went down domain and kingdom, let's classify the other traits regarding the classification system. Phylum shows that these birds are vertebrates, or more specifically called chordata. We know that these birds are vertebrates because they possess a notochord, which is a flexible rod-like structure for their body. Next is class. Green-cheeked conures are birds, giving broad features such as feathers, wings, and a toothless beak. But if we go specifically in depth on how and why these birds are a specific type, we can classify these birds as parrots, which then leads us to order. Ctesiforms, more specific, shows us that these birds are parrots due to features like a curved beak, a robust body, and brightly covered feathers, while family, in the Linnean classification, shows us that Ctesidae are considered to be true parrots, meaning that this family includes both African parrots and New World parrots. Lastly, we represent the last two most specific ranks in the biological taxonomy hierarchy, fundamental for accurately naming and identifying organisms, and in this instance, green-cheeked conures. Genus groups together species that are closely related to each other, sharing common characteristics and evolutionary history. Parura is what described as a group of small, long-tailed parrots, while species identifies a group of organisms that can interbreed and produce offspring. These are called Melina. Then lastly, the scientific name for the green-cheeked conure is Pyrrhura melina. Phew! Now we got all the classifications out of the way, let's talk about how these birds show the 7 characteristics of life. Since we previously discussed about green-cheeked conures being in domain Eukarya, or more specifically in kingdom Animalia, we can discuss how these characteristics of life relate to these conures. One of the cutest things I saw as a kid was when birds would fluff up their feathers, but I never knew why. Well, I'm here to tell you why. Green-cheeked conures regulate their body temperature to fit environmental conditions. Using these behaviors like feather fluffing is used as a mechanism when the environment is cold. Feather fluffing includes trapping the air within their feathers and creating an insulating layer, helping retain body heat. This cute little mechanism tells us that birds and all living things need a stable internal environment despite changes in conditions. But not only do these birds need a stable environment to survive, but they also need energy. Birds require energy to survive. Green-cheeked conures in particular need a variety of diets such as fruit, vegetables, seeds, and pellets. They need these nutrients to have energy to fly, play, and vocalize. If birds don't have enough energy without food, they can experience difficulty flying, have reduced activity, and be in state of lethargy, which means tiredness, fatigue, sluggishness, lack of energy. Lastly, green-cheeked conures are highly responsive to their environment. They heavily rely on their senses of sight, smell, and hearing to perceive and respond to their environments. With green-cheeked conures, they are known for being active, intelligent in nature, responding in behaviors that include vocalization, chirping and imitating sounds, physical actions, enjoying active play, and emotional expressions. Through behaviors, mutation, evolution, we come to see the different adaptations of green-cheeked conures, with adaptations such as bright coloration in feathers through various color mutations. An example would be pineapple conures. These mutations are a result of natural variation in their genes. Because of breeders selectively choosing conures with the best natural variation in their genes, these conures would then be bred to produce offspring with these specific traits. But through natural selection, green-cheeked conures would be favored based on their traits that help them survive and reproduce in their environment. These traits often included camouflage, agility, and the ability to acquire food, leading to an evolutionary change in these species. As much as I want to talk about these small, cute, adorable creatures, the video has to end eventually. But because there is a substantial amount of detailed information about these creatures, their behavior, appearance, care, diet, habitat, etc., users are always able to access information about these species. Green-cheeked conures are highly well documented in both the wild and in domestic care. Lastly, ending on a funny note, green-cheeked conures are capable of remarkable acrobatic activity, which includes hanging upside down, spinning, and performing somersaults, giving these little creatures the nickname called clowns of the parrot world.